Hello. Alright, hopefully you're watching this somewhere around writing time, so maybe at 11:50 or a little bit before if you happen to finish your math work, or if you're just going as a day goes by, then at least you came to this video. So, we are continuing on in writing with our imaginative narrative, so you're still writing about the same topic you told me you were writing about. We have already gone over your characters and your setting. Today we are going to talk about your narrative structure. A narrative story has a certain structure, and this basic structure is the same for all narratives. So any narrative you read, it's going to be the same. When you understand how a narrative structure works, you'll be able to write better stories. So when you're looking at this anchor chart for a narrative structure, we talked yesterday when we made our knowledge map, we put our characters and settings on there. We also said that another part of a great story is the plot. So our plot has 5 stages usually. This plot looks like a roller coaster because when you go through the story, that's how it feels. You're going up and then over and then down when you're writing your story. So if you've ever ridden on a roller coaster, then you know usually at the beginning, before you do anything, you get in line. You have to see if you're tall enough to ride. You have to see if you want to ride because of the wait time, so maybe it's way too long and you don't want to ride it. So this is the exposition. This is any important background information about the setting and characters. And then when you get to the ride, finally, you're next in line to go. As soon as you sit down in the roller coaster seats, they buckle you up, they're checking to make sure that you are secured. This is your setting, you're a character in the roller coaster, and then someone is going to come on the speaker and they're going to tell you everything about the ride. They're going to tell you what not to do, they're going to tell you what to do, and then they're going to ask you, or they're going to tell you to have fun. So this is the exposition when you're riding the roller coaster. Next, you're going to come up and you're going to hit a hill. When you hit the hill, you kind of just move up inch by inch. That's what it feels like, and sometimes it might feel like you're like jerking, and you're going up to the top of the roller coaster. This is your rising action. It's what happens in the story that leads you to the climax. So you're climbing the hill in your roller coaster. It's leading you up to your climax. Your climax is going to be your drop. It's the turning point. You're turning out of this hill and you're going down, right? Your climax might be that this roller coaster that you're on, maybe you're going upside down, you're doing a flip, or maybe you're going sideways. Maybe you're just dropping down a huge hill, right? You don't know with roller coasters. Same thing we don't know with the narrative. I don't know what your climax is going to be. You want me to keep reading into your rising action for me to get to the climax, right? And then when you hit the climax, you're going to go into your falling actions. It's the events that happen after the climax. So usually in your roller coaster, when you do your big turns or you go sideways, you have a point in time where you're there, you're enjoying the ride. It's everything that happens after that big, huge flip or the big, huge twist and turn. Anything that happens after that point in your roller coaster ride is what will be your falling action. And then finally you come to your resolution. It's the conclusion of your story. The resolution on your roller coaster is when you come to a stop at the end. The thrill of being on a roller coaster and going upside down and sideways is over, and you've made it to the end of your ride, or you've made it to the end of your story. So I'm not sure about you guys, but I can sit here and talk through this roller coaster looking at this anchor chart with you, or I could show you one. So I found a video from Diamondback, which is actually no longer a roller coaster at Kings Island, but it happened to be one of my favorite because you actually laid down when you rode it. So we're going to go through and watch the video and point out the different parts of the narrative structure in the roller coaster video. Alright, so we're going to go through the narrative structure by looking at a roller coaster that used to be at Kings Island called Firehawk. So here's the exposition, right? So the exposition was showing us the sign. If it would have included the height for it. Right now is our setting. It's showing us our setting and our characters of this narrative. So these 4 boys are our characters. The setting is the roller coaster ride, right? So as I mentioned, they're laying down during it. So this is all part of the exposition. This is our rising action, what happens in the story that leads to the climax. Alright, so they made it up, they immediately flipped over, and they're going to make it to the climax of the narrative structure soon. Right? Oh, great. So, there would be the climax, the big loop in it. And now they're doing the falling action. The events that happen after the big loop. Right, you got the little turnaround, and then you're... And then we have the ending. They are ending the ride there, and that is our resolution. It is the conclusion to our roller coaster. So this is how your narrative would be set up using these 5 stages. So your assignment for today, you should have done. This is your narrative. So I am writing one as well. So I have my character pages done. I have filled in all of my blanks. I have my setting done. My setting goes along with my characters. It's in the Gulf, and all of my characters live in the water. And the next thing we're doing is the plot. So what we just talked about. The exposition is where you are going to talk about your important background information, your settings and your characters, right? So when we look back on the story that we read before, we can see that in the first paragraph and even in the title, we have our setting and we have at least one of our friends or one of our characters. And continuing on the first page, we see most of our characters as well. Going back to the narrative, that is what your exposition is. The rising action is what is going to happen that is going to lead you to your climax. You might want to think about what your climax is before you write any of the other parts. What is going to be the turning point in your story? So what are the characters going to go through that is going to be the major change, right? And then you can figure out what is going to happen before we get there, and then what is going to happen after, and then what the resolution is. So the resolution usually includes the solution to the problem in your story. A narrative story usually has a problem that the characters go through, and that at the end the protagonist fixes the problem, and may even help the antagonist some. So think about that. Alright, this is your writing assignment. Fill in your plot, and I will look over it as you do them on Thursday. Remember, you should only be doing this page and pre-write setting and pre-write characters if you have not done them yet. Please do the pages in order. On Thursday, stop at plot. As always, if you have questions, feel free to message me. I will talk to you in another lesson.